Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Blame Majestic told me to stream. He said just do it. Majestic. So that's what we're doing. He said just do it. Okay, my sound's great. My bad. My bad. My bad. My bad. Hello. It's showing that we have 7 minutes till the video starts, which I'm totally fine with, because that gives me plenty of time, right? 8:30. It's an hour and 45 minutes. What is that? 9:30. Oh, that's just in time. Okay, so we did this perfect timing. We are going straight into this showcase. This is Black Voice in Gaming's showcase that we need to catch up on. Yeah, this is just new games from talented Black creators around the world, and so we are going to react to some of them, and I honestly can't wait. I watched this one last year. This one was pretty cool. I just liked the style of it, and then like, I don't know, thinking outside of the box, because that's mainly like a good chunk of what indie developers do, but you can see that they lean more towards what they are actually interested in, what they're going for. So like, if they are going for something that's giving more Zelda, you can see the style of the Zelda. Like what was the showcase we watched? The mixed gaming showcase, the first one. That one had a lot of Avatar styled, Stardew Valley, but it was heavily set on that. There was a few games that, you know, thought outside of the box, like the skateboard music one. I don't remember the name of it. Don't fight me. It's too late and I've got to work overnight tonight. So, but that one gave Tony Hawk met Splatoon. And it was a little confusing because of the way that they addressed things, but they figured it out, and I actually liked the game. So that is what we're doing. Let me see. Oh God. How many showcases are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Watched one. Only 2 come out tomorrow. So, game plan tomorrow is to watch State of Play in the morning before, what's the other one? Before the Latin America Games Showcase, which is happening tomorrow. So we'll be watching State of Play, Latin Games, and then Women Led. So tomorrow's stream is going to be a lot longer, which I am very, very excited. Very excited. We are going to do the rise and the grind, and we are actually going to do it, okay? This is like taking a shower. You got to get in it first to enjoy it. Oh, man. Oh God. Okay, I have 3 minutes till this is ready. Was on the... Oh God. I'm multitasking now. Okay, Twitch. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. We're gonna jump into it right now so that it will start because it's showing that we have like 2 minutes left. We're gonna turn this up just a little bit more because I think last time it wasn't. So there's that. Okay, 1 second. Ooh, 1 more minute. Well, a minute 45. A minute 45. I don't even have my headphones on. How can I hear anything? I can't. Okay. There we go. I'm excited. I am excited. All right, here we go. Last stretch. What are we excited for? Well, no, because some of y'all are Call of Duty players, so y'all don't even know what indie games are. Ain't that the crazy thing? I don't play Call of Duty, but most of my viewers watch Call of Duty, Fortnite, all of those. And I don't play those. Maybe once, twice.
What is happening, my people?
Oh my God, I love this.
Justin Woodward, co-founder of Black Voice in Gaming, The Mix, and the nonprofit Experience Studios. It is a scorching, sizzling
This
summer.
is so
We're kicking the
cool.
door, wave into Fofo with our annual Black Voice in Gaming Summer Showcase for 2026. Our mission is simple. We help support and celebrate developers through grants, network connections, publishers, investors, platforms, and of course, the community of you guys and the culture. This BVIG, we are proud to showcase trailers, interviews, and gameplay sessions with some dope developers. Before
Let's
we get started,
go.
we want to thank our sponsors, Raw Fury, Aurora Broadcasting, No Rivals, The Mix, and our broadcasting partners, Summer Game Fest. Thank you guys for
Love
supporting us.
this.
IGN,
Okay.
Twitch, GameSpot, and
Okay,
Steam.
we get it.
Yes, Steam. Please wish list or purchase the games you see in the show through the QR code that pops up. We are coming up on our 3rd year with the XP Fund, where we help fund grants through an accelerator program that will get these games made. If you're interested in supporting these games through charity, please follow the QR code on the screen when it pops up. And if you're interested in investment opportunities, please hit us up as well. Without further delay, I'm going to pass the mic to Lori and Curtis Baxter to get into the first game.
Thanks, Justin. My name is Curtis, and I am joined by my incredible host, a fantastic content creator by the name of...
Hi, my name is Lori, and I'm so excited to be here today with you, Curtis, for all of the trailers, all of the announcements.
I know, I think it's going to be jam-packed, so I don't know about you, but I want to get right into it. You down with that?
Yes, let's do it.
All right.
Hey, my name's Graham. I'm a Jamaican game developer, and this is my cozy island builder, Auralands. It's a game focused on creativity. No pressure, no rules to follow, just pure vibes. It's up to you to create whatever kind of island you want to make, whether it's a lush forest campsite or a vast deserted island. Auralands has dozens of things for you to decorate your islands with, and once you take a break from building, even more things are waiting to be found. Just poke around. There are a ton of delightful surprises for you to experience.
Okay.
Now, once you think you're done, show off your hard work by making postcards and sharing them with your friends, because good things should always be shared.
I need
Day
a
or
story,
night,
though.
Rain or shine, come and craft your little slice of
I need a
paradise
purpose.
right here in Auralands.
It's cute. I like it. Oh, available now. Okay.
A princess, once beautiful beyond wonders of the flesh, now crawl the earth as her demonic mass
Ooh.
pulsated lifelessly.
Okay. We got a story. We've got old school style gameplay. A little gore, but it's light. It's for those first beginning horror players. Me. Ooh. I really like the art style on this. The Impaler. Their pixel art is also really good in between all of this. Sometimes people get it muddy around like the color designs and the way like the walking styles are, but the way that the Impaler guy looked, you can see like all the details. It's really, really good. I'm just saying. Okay, this is a marble game. I don't know about this one. To me, it's a lot of buttons into bowls, and I would get super confused on where my marbles are supposed to go. Oh, my bad. Ooh, this is old school. At least that's what it's giving, is it's giving old school. But that's mainly what indies do nowadays. It's a good starter for them so that they're not working their entire life on a game to be known by something, then to get a bunch of practices on mini games that have stories and whatnots to excel into bigger games. This is cute though. Ah! Kickstarter, let's go.
Hi everyone, I'm Thiago Prudente from Mandinga Games. We are indie game developers from Salvador, Bahia, Northeast Brazil, and I'm the lead developer of Black Sailors, Bay of All Saints. I'm here to tell you a bit about the game we're building and why this story matters so much to us. Black Sailor is an adventure RPG with tactical turn-based combat. It's a story during the colonization of Brazil back in the 19th century, about a group of enslaved Africans who refused to accept their fate. So they rebelled, seized control of a slave ship, and became pirates, fighting back against the Portuguese colonial oppression in the Bay of All Saints. It's a decolonial game. That means we are shifting the lenses here. We are so used to seeing history and games told from the perspective of the conqueror or the explorer, but in Black Sailors we flip that logic. We take the power out of the hands of the colonizer and put it in the hands of the enslaved and oppressed. One of the things that drive us is how history is taught. Even in Brazil, our education is often very Eurocentric. We were taught at school that our country was formed by Portuguese, indigenous people, and Africans, as if African was just one big homogeneous block, but that was not the case. The African diaspora was formed by several different ethnicities.
Oh, wow.
Bantu, Fon, and many others. Each had their own unique culture, cosmology, and customs. Some were even rival back in Africa, but they were forced into the same struggle here. The colonizers actually thought mixing different ethnicities would prevent revolt. It's important to understand that Black Sailors is built entirely from an Afro-Brazilian perspective. Our culture is incredibly rich and rooted in African ancestry. But over centuries, we lost the clear lines of what came from each ethnicity. In Black Sailors, we are creating an alternative story, exploring what it would look like if this Afro-Brazilian identity was forged in the fire of a pirate rebellion. We didn't want to just make generic African rebel characters. That's why we are collaborating with a historian, a specialist in African diaspora in colonial Bahia. We have
That's actually
researched
cool.
specific ethnicities to create characters with real, distinctive motivations. So in the crew, you will not just find generic Africans. There is a Daomé warrior, a blacksmith from Oyo, a hunter from Ife. You also find people with very different motivations. Some of them just want to go back to Africa. Others want
Honestly,
to
might
build a
just watch
full-scale
this or
rebellion
play
in the
this so that I could
Sudan.
actually like
And some
learn
have
something
lost
other than
everything and
America
are just for
and
revenge. This clashing
English
motivations create
and
dynamic
redcoats
conflict
and
between them.
like
That
there's
involves
other
everything.
stories. It's
When they
not
get into
just
games,
that
they have
being
just
the main
taken
story.
control of the ship. They don't know each other yet, but they quickly realize they will have to overcome their differences if they want to survive. Your role as the player is to manage this crew and assign them to specific functions on the ship. So, if you want the ship to move faster, you need to put more people on the sails. If you want the ship to shoot back, you need to put more people on the guns. This is how you play your Revolution. It's a turn-based strategy experience divided into two phases. First, the planning phase, where you manage your crew, analyze enemy movements, track enemy bullets, and
Bro,
decide your
hold on.
strategy.
Pausing this real quick. So you know how I just said that most of my community is Call of Duty players or Fortnite players, and they watch me who doesn't play Call of Duty or Fortnite or anything? Check it. Check it. Check it. I just got a Snapchat by one of the viewers. Only game he cares about. That's Call of Duty Black Ops 7. A game I do not play. I watch it, but I do not play it. Good gravy. All right, we're going back to the showcase. Oh no.
Strategy. Then comes the resolution phase, where you watch your decisions play out in real time. As your adventure continues, you upgrade your ship and crew and rescue more people who join your cause. We just announced Black Sailors to the world, and the reaction was intense. We saw a lot of backlash from people who treated the simple act of portraying enslaved people with agency as some kind of agenda. But the supported has been even louder. We realized that there is a massive audience of players who are hungry for stories that step outside the Eurocentric
Yes.
narrative. Black Sailors is for everyone who wants to see history through a different lenses, a lens of resistance, humanity, and freedom. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait for you all to sail the Bay of All Saints with us.
Ooh, okay. Mecha. This could be a TV show. I like this.
All right. Well, that was an incredible trailer for Netcode Warriors. I am joined by my co-host, Derek Fields, and right now we also happen to have the CEO and game director of Sun Studios, Segun Oshede. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad
Nice.
to be here. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
I have questions
happy
for
to,
him.
Be checking out this game. So, I mean, right off the bat, these are totally new characters, right? Totally new IP. Can you kind of
Correct,
walk us through the entire development process?
Yeah. So we've been working on Netcode Warriors since 2020. So it's been a hot minute. The kind of earliest days were a lot of ideation kind of phase. Like, what does this IP mean? Like, what is it about? Like, kind of figuring out some of the story and lore aspects, and kind of honing in like how we were going to reference our inspirations and things like that. Once we were able to kind of communicate with Watanabe-san and Moriyama-san, so those are the guys from Japan who actually worked on the Digimon IP. Kenji is like one of the original kind of creators and designers of the Digimon IP. Once we were able to kind
It
of
does
talk with
give
those
Digimon.
guys and get more of a hone in on the art style, I think that kind of like we were off to the races at that point. We also had other very talented designers. Ivan Fiorelli, famously, I think has done like some stuff for Fantastic Four comic. I think he was the penciler for Fantastic Four for a couple years. Mitch Lucas has a pretty famous webtoon that's in development called Project Divider. So a lot of very talented artists kind of help shape the artistic vision of the game. My inspirations for art generally are always going to be based on my background. So I'm Nigerian. So for instance, the main character is Yoruba. I'm Yoruba, so the Yoruba tribe. That was important to me, but also bringing in some of the things from my childhood that really stood out to me artistically and stylistically. So very Shibuya punk and grind fiction inspired. You have a lot of like kind of streetwear and street culture kind of aspects that are kind of baked into some of the art and the especially the human characters, but then the transformations into these like larger than life like warriors. We call them code warriors. It's very Sentai inspired, very Power Rangers inspired. So those are like bring in a lot of like aspects of things I grew up with, like Mega Man Battle Network and other franchises like that that really shaped the vision of like the IP and everything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, rock on. It's easy to see for me coming from like a similar background in terms of influences and the types of media that I was growing up with. Those influences, like they breathe all throughout Netcode Warriors. There's something that you nudged on that I would love to hear more about. One of my favorite topics is talking about cultural intersection and how these different inspirations can come together to breathe new life. You're directly interfacing with Japanese developers and artists within this project. And so can you expand a little bit more about what it's like to work, truly as a globalized studio?
Yeah. So, the whole studio is remote. I've always said, like, I don't really care where you come from. I just care that you got heart and talent, right? That's it. I don't even care
they hiring?
so much like how much experience you have, because I think it's very easy to fall into that trap when you're hiring somebody of, that whole thing like, oh, well, I need experience to get a job. How can I get a job if I don't have experience, right? So for me, it's just if I see passionate people, talented people, I tend to reach out to those and try to see if there's like a way we can collaborate in certain aspects and certain avenues. In regards to the globalization of everything, yeah, like, people from all over the world, from Spain, from Indonesia, animation team, the riggers, animators from Brazil, and so like your team is kind of worldwide, kind of by necessity, just because we want the best people that we can bring onto the project. In regards to working with the Japanese guys specifically, definitely language barrier was kind of hard to overcome. Translating emails back and forth, trying to make sure that you're not saying anything that they can be perceived as like offensive and incorrect. Like you want to make sure you're culturally sensitive to whoever you're speaking to and kind of the background, especially some of these guys who are very well
I bet the emailing back and forth to get to the Digimon IP address was very, very hard for him. Especially like the whole translation part and trying to figure out those emails back and forth. Also the time zones, like they're hours ahead or a day behind or forward or whatever days it is. But that is like probably the hardest. Crazy how he got it.
Can you speak to a little bit of the challenges that kind of come up and kind of how you kind of triumphed over them?
I'd be lying if I said I've got this part down 100%.
It's the hardest
still
part.
Growing, learning every day. Part of it is just trying to be as flexible as you can with time zones. Time zones can be a big thing, right? Sometimes I just don't get a lot of sleep, because I'm like talking with people in Spain who are 4 hours ahead, or Japan who are 12, 14 hours ahead, or whatever, right? So like sometimes it's me being up at 3 a.m. but needing to be up at 8 a.m. to do something, right? So that the reality is like sometimes, it's a grind. It's really hard. It's difficult. It's mentally taxing. I'm sure my girlfriend would love to see me more. But, at times, life demands that to achieve greatness, you must do great things.
Yes.
So yeah, I hold myself to a very high standard in regards to how I do work and how I operate and everything like that. And I can't expect everybody to put in 100% if I'm not putting in 100%, right? 110%, whatever I have to give, I give, because these projects that we're working on as a studio, they're very important to me. I'm very passionate about them. To me, Sun Studios is poised to be like one of the next premier like fighting game developers, at least based out of the West, right? If we do things correctly, and if we make sure that we're precise and very calculated with how we do things, and that we put our heart into it. So that's kind of my approach to that.
As a fighting game, this means that we're entering into the fighting game community and entering into a nuance for things like iframes and move cancellations and like hitbox coordination.
Yeah.
I am arbitrarily gesturing at this as just a fighting game couch player. Dead or Alive was my game of choice, and I'm no longer good at any of them. But they bring such a nuance, and so what sort of nuance, emergent outcomes do you hope comes from Netcode Warriors and in terms of how people play and engage with this game?
Yeah. So Netcode Warriors, right? Obviously, there's the stylistic kind of things that we're referencing, but in regards to the gameplay itself, I think that's actually where it shines, or where its specialness comes from, because we're making an arena fighter, which there's a lot of them out there. Usually based on licensed IP, like your famous anime or whatever. But those games are usually designed for a more casual experience. They're not really designed to be competitively deep. It's more about getting to experience your favorite characters and play them in a way that's easy for you to do, and easy for you to switch from character to character and just do really cool stuff and kind of put it down and like I had a good time or whatever. And that's not really the design goal here. The design goal here is for you to put hundreds, thousands of hours into, like, the game is like constantly revealing itself to you. And in that kind of design space, arena fighters haven't really had competitive spotlight before. I mean, there's one or two here or there, but they all kind of make compromises to kind of have that conversation with the fighting game community, I would say. And we're kind of looking at things in a sort of a different direction. Obviously, we're trying to incorporate some things like motion inputs are pretty big for us, quarter circles and things like that should just exist more usually in traditional fighting games that tend to not exist in arena fighters. We're putting those in. Charge motions, and other things like that. But the idea of what an arena fighter is, or what it can be, is a real expression of freedom of movement in a three-dimensional space that 2D fighters just generally aren't really can't do in the same way, I'd say. And so even the 3D fighters that you're familiar with, like Dead or Alive or Tekken or Virtual Fighter, because jumping usually and crouching share an input. Jumping, crouching, and stepping to the side share an input that limits how quickly you can move in and out of the foreground, and it's mostly about moving forward and backwards quickly with like intervals of that. That's why there's like high level techniques about stepping into out of the foreground. Netcode Warrior kind of approaches it more like there's a real freedom of movement, and the skill and depth is how the decisions you're making based on that movement. You can move wherever you want, but are you moving in the right place at the right time? You can move quickly, but are you quickly adjusting to what your opponent is doing and things like that? So that's kind of the design space that we're in regards to what Netcode Warriors is and what it can be.
Love that.
We spoke a little bit earlier just about this being, again, a new IP that no one's seen before. Let's say we're fast forward, game is out, it's doing amazing, as I'm sure it will. Fandoms love to interact with their favorite characters.
Yes.
Do the Sun Studios have any kind of aspirations to take those characters and develop them for other forms of media? And what does that success look like for you?
Yeah, this is something I've thought about loosely. I haven't put too much thought into it, to be honest. But from what I've thought about, I do think like a companion manga makes a lot of sense. Like a one-shot manga, I think would be really, really succinct with the art style and the inspirations and everything like that. Would make a ton of sense. I think animation, like a short film, could also do wonders. I think also there's various opportunities because the designs are so wild and so dynamic, and there's obviously licensing opportunities, clothing, merchandise could be cool. The human characters have these very tech wear kind of inspired outfits, so something that kind of leads into that I think could be interesting as well. But yeah, mostly like manga, animation, novelization. I mean, those are all valid avenues that one could pursue, or one that we thought about to some degree, but haven't put too much thought into because we're just really focused on making
it's a
good
start.
game with a good story first.
You start with that. You stretch out the rest.
I don't want people to feel like, oh, I didn't get this. I have to go do homework elsewhere to understand the game I just played, or the story mode I just played, or to understand the characters that I was interacting with. that makes sense. Like we want like a full story experience, right? Like in Netcode Warriors. So
Really quick before I let you get in, Derek, I want to know. All right, are you keeping the story under wraps, or can you speak a little bit to the story a little bit right here? Because I'm a story guy.
yeah, I can talk about the story a little bit, but essentially, these people, right, humans from all around the world. So that's another thing is that the cast is culturally diverse intentionally, right? They're from literally every character's from somewhere else on Earth. Right, our main characters from Nigeria. We got somebody from the Scandinavian region, some Japanese, some Taiwanese. Like American. Like they're all from different walks of life, from different parts of the world. They all one day, by happenstance, get like sucked into this alternate world called the network. Right. And
aren't we all doing that now?
Essentially, this living. Sort of breathing world. Like when sometimes in lore and fantasy you talk about like Gaia, Earth as like a living, breathing thing. In this alternate dimension, that world is like alive, basically. And it's overseen by an entity called the Sovereign. And essentially, the laws of physics are kind of inverted in this alternate dimension to where energy is an infinite thing, but physical matter is like more limited than it is here. The humans kind of quickly realize that like, oh, if we could funnel this energy to Earth, then we would have potentially unlimited energy, and shenanigans ensue. That's basically the gist, the kind of surface level gist of the story.
Love a good story, and I'm glad that you expand on that a little bit. It relates in a lot of what I was thinking about. There was a nugget that you mentioned about the story, about a lot to do with the game's identity and the expectation of players committing an amount of time to it so that they don't feel like that they have to do homework outside of the game to drive a connection with it. Games now are emerging in a space where let me rephrase and say all media is emerging into a space where they are competing with each other. So whether you're a game or a cartoon or a movie, the attention space is like a continuously crowded economy. And so, looking to keep your players in this environment in hopes that they will dedicate that time and expand upon the story. It sounds like a huge undertaking, one that it commands, standing out with some of these other arena fighters that you were pointing to.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Emerging into a saturated space, emerging into a space where, the goal of keeping players attuned to the game is going to be really important. Are there other elements that are going along with the story to keep people coming back for more?
Yeah, I think the big thing, like the
I feel like the question, I'm gonna pause this real quick. I think the questions are a bit confusing. Only being, fine line, only being is that this is a game that's not even out yet, not even a demo, I don't think. But what the questions are asking, so this guy pretty much has the IP to Digimon, like in that space. He's figured out how to do it, and I feel like their questions they're asking are for a game that needs to probably be out a bit longer so that he can explain how he's going to keep audiences in his game. Because honestly, keeping audience in your game, it changes every 5 seconds. Every other day there's got to be some kind of flow state for it. But if this game isn't out yet, which I can't confirm it was, I mean, after the podcast I believe they'll tell us, but they haven't really confirmed or even know how to do that yet because this game's not out. So that's my only problem with it, only problem with the questions that they've asked this entire time.
Right. From
that's
a competitive
it
standpoint to have a sustainable player base that sustains over time. I think another thing also is like at this point with
closer to me, like you're kissing me. Oh, there you go. This one's almost done.
You need to show your player base that you're
I have an hour.
Put more time into it outside of just the initial release. So
you're
gonna expect like some kind of downloadable content, whether it's more characters and things like that down the line, which are all things, conversations we're having and plans we're making. I obviously can't speak to anything definitively like that at this time, but all conversations we're having about how to make sure that Netcode Warriors is it's not just a game, it's an intellectual property, right? That can extend past just the game itself, right? Like whether we get to make like a Netcode Warriors 2
But
or
he
3 or
heard
whatever, right? Like we've already had conversations about some of the story elements
My
that
bad.
would play into Netcode Warriors 2 if we got to make that. And we have
Okay.
some very interesting kind of you know, fighting games are very hard to market. You need to show players that there's something, either you usually need IP or something unique or something they're familiar with, something to grab them or bring them in. So one thing is obviously like character designers who've worked at Marvel and worked in, you know, Bandai and Digimon. Like that was like one pull. Another pull that I can't go into too much detail about, but I can basically explain is that we
Spill
got
it.
some pretty prominent content creators in the fighting game community to agree to give to let us use their likenesses actually as characters in the game, as playable characters in the game. So that's something I'm super excited about.
Ooh,
because
I
think
wonder who he
really creates
got.
this, like fandom kind of relationship between the game and those content creators and their communities, right? That I think will really, you know, accent kind of the IP in an interesting way.
Cool.
And to make them
remind folks
into, like,
watching, you are
Digimon
both the
styled
CEO of Sun
characters?
Studios and also the game director. So you're actually
Correct.
covering multiple projects at a time.
Yeah.
Talk to us about like what does your typical day look like when we're talking about literally being part of crafting the business, which is the game, games in your case, but then also having to operate also on the kind of business side of things.
Yeah. So, you know, we're currently so fully self-funded. So I do have a, you know, a day job that I have, you know, that I do as well. That, you know, allows us to, you know, and myself and my other co-owners, we all have day jobs that we use that allows to fund the studio. So a decent amount of my day obviously is going to that, and most of my Sun Studios related work is outside of that work day, generally speaking. I mentioned earlier I don't get a lot of sleep. I wasn't hyperbolizing. That's just like generally how things are right now. I'm the game director on both this and our other fighting game project, Saturday and Battle Manga. So I'm the game director on both of those projects at the same time, and so that does demand a lot of my attention because a lot of people, you know, need information about what to do, when to do it, and kind of, you know, making sure we hit our deadlines, our marketing kind of goals, and everything like that. So those are kind of different kind of facets that play into how my schedule lines up. But I don't have a specific like, here's what I do at 8 a.m. and here's what I do at, you know, because sometimes like, you know, things are the way they are, you know.
Yeah. If you're creative, if you're a game director, we know that, you know, some of those regimented moments kind of feel like locking ourselves into a box. Jesse, it's been a pleasure to learn more about Netcode Warriors and understand what you and Sun Studios are doing for not only this, but the other projects that have been alluded to during this conversation. With the limited time that we've had, I've already learned so much, but is there anything that we maybe didn't get a chance to cover that you would like players to know about before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think, you know, for us specifically, marketing has been a thing that we would like to do more of, right? I think we're planning on setting up, I mean, by the time this goes out, we probably should have like a Discord server people can join to kind of have community and talk with each other about the game and the characters that have been revealed and have more speculation about the story and different things like that. We want to, you know, kind of announce some of the voice actors that we kind of had conversations with and cast for some of the roles and as well. So yeah, the game's kind of ramping up and the development's kind of ramping up in a very interesting way. I obviously cannot give a definitive release date for the game at this time, but the plan is to release it next year at some point. I can say that now.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Next year, that's the plan.
Rock on.
Okay, yeah, so the game's not even out yet,
It's
so
been,
to ask
terrific chatting
questions
with you, getting to know a little bit more about you, about
of
Sun
a learning
Studios, about
curve
Netcode Warriors.
of a game that's not out yet,
That was a lot of fun.
it's just kind of, you know, hard
if you
to
like what
do.
we're doing, then scan the QR code and consider supporting the XP Fund, which helps provide grants to underrepresented indie developers to help move their projects across the next stage of development. Now, let's get back to some more trailers.
Oh yeah. I can't remember what the game is back in like the 80s. But this is just like a POV version of that game. You know what I mean? A little ship and he shoots up. And there's aliens taking your stuff from your base. That's what this looks like. Just an updated POV of it. I mean, it's cool. I'd play it. I would play it.
Pay attention, adversary.
Ooh.
I can't let it end here. This time will be different.
Ooh. I like this. It's like an advanced Tetris. The art style is cute of it too. Scramble Star Crossing. Oh no. Okay, it's like 2 games in 1. Okay. Okay, see, this is his second game.
It's time for a new hero.
Nice.
Plum Road Tea Dream is gonna be a look into the life of S, which is my alter ego. So it's like a semi-autobiographical game. And S makes these virtual spaces for themselves that they call sanctuaries.
Oh,
out
wow.
of a wish or a need for a world that is more safe, or for a world that accommodates better for grief and sadness, or for a world where they can imagine versions of themselves that like somehow find a hard time existing in real life.
Whoa.
My name is Samuel Baido. I'm 33 years old. I'm based in Antwerp, Belgium. I work as a theater maker, performer, and mentor. And in the last 3-4 years, I've also been working as a game designer. I think it's a game that can be enjoyed by experienced players, but also by people that have no previous experience with video gaming. Next to walking being the main action, some of the things you will come across are like interactable words like read or sit or listen. Those are like some of the interactions you can do in the game. So it's rather simple. I think it's really about the experience, about getting to know the story of S, and spending time in these virtual sanctuaries. There are sanctuaries created for rest, sleep, and dreams, but there is also a sanctuary
It's
that
like an interactive Google Maps.
encapsulates a painful,
I like that.
even
That's what
traumatic
Google Maps should
memory, I
do.
would say. There is a sanctuary that questions how we can grieve for people that we don't know but feel close to or feel connected to. So this is like almost a game inside of a game. It's just a circle of chairs with names on them. But I'll read out the little plaque with information. Sit with them. I hope to turn this into a game one day. A game where you walk and encounter names on chairs. A list of names of people of color in Belgium who were killed by the police. I wonder what it would be like to sit with them around a campfire. There is the homeworld that connects all of the sanctuaries, and in the homeworld, different iterations of S live. I call them NPCs, non-playable characters. And you can chat with them, and a big part of the game is actually to kind of help them get unstuck or to help them heal in some kind of way. I think the game is important to me for many different reasons. The creation of the game was really triggered by this traumatic event that's out of my youth that surfaced during the lockdown. A very painful rupture that I had with my father because of my sexuality. And already very early on, because of playtesting the game or kind of having these open door moments where people could come and test the game, I noticed that it really resonated with a lot of people, and that the game opened for them maybe some ways of like reflecting or philosophizing on the topics that it offers. I would get messages that would be like, wow, you inspired me to start writing again, like I'm journaling again. Somehow sharing this very personal story made a lot of people feel really seen. I also think Plum Road Tea Dream is important to me because it's like this hugely collaborative work. There are often comments on this work of like, whoa, I never thought about making games by 3D scanning clay sculptures that you make in real life. Or we also made this theater piece out of Plum Road Tea Dream, and there people are like, okay, you're using a video game as a medium for a live performance. I've never seen this. So I also think we pushed some boundaries in some ways.
Yeah.
And kind of bridged the game sector and the arts a little bit more. And we're just hoping that a lot of people find their way to it, play it, and enjoy it, and that it triggers something for them, that they get something out of it.
Nice. I like it. But I don't do sadness, so I probably won't play it.
Back. I am
Fishbowl.
joined by my lovely co-host Lori.
Hello.
And also here we have combat designer and also my former colleague, Stephen O. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Hanging in there. Weird time, but you know.
Sure. But it's good to see you again, you know?
Yeah, it's been a while. So let's just jump right in and get started. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of your path to becoming a combat designer?
Yeah, so my path as coming to a combat designer, it's like I had very humble beginnings. I started off in Albany, New York. That's where I grew up. And my brother is a lot older than me, and he would introduce me to a bunch of comic books and action movies like The Five Deadly Venoms, Kid with the Golden Arms, and one of my favorites, Bruce Leroy and The Last Dragon. And I just wanted to become these kind of characters. So I would start like taking gymnastics and doing kung fu and things like that, just to be the character. And when I translated that energy into like making games, I like realized that not just being a game designer, I could also be a person that creates these sort of action
Love
figures
this.
or adversaries
Yes.
or even the heroes to allow people to feel like that
You can be whatever
person
you
I was
want to
trying to
be as long
capture
as you
from
set your
myself,
mind to it.
Went to school for it. I went to school at Rochester Institute of Technology. I didn't know anything about programming really before that. I took like one class in high school, and RIT was just starting to have a games program. And I wanted to make sure that I can get into the program. I started talking to, I originally went there for IT, knowing that they're going to have this game program. And I lined all my classes to be like a good game designer and have them transfer over because I didn't have a whole lot of money to like stay there extra years. And then along the way, I met a lot of people that had been working in games and even had an internship where they realized there's a specific role for a combat designer, a person who makes the enemies or a person who works on the hero and their interactions. So that was like my first foray into getting into realizing the role of a combat designer.
You said that you took like martial arts classes to that. So what was what was the process of like taking that experience from that and then like applying it to combat design?
Yeah, so like I grew up in like moving my body and understanding like punches and kicks, right? Being able to throw them yourself. And then you sort of get into the space where you're trying to like read your opponent. They're going to start doing punches and kicks. And as I gotten older, I was like, okay, well, I can't just go out fighting everybody. And somehow like you learn this kind of dialogue with the person that you're like sparring with or fighting with that I like really just couldn't get enough of, because it's like that movie quote from The Matrix: you don't know somebody until you fight them. Or you can really learn them as you fight them. Like you start to anticipate their movements, you make moves that you're trying to train them to do certain things, right? And that's great in real life, but you can't do that all the time. So I started playing fighting games, and back in a day, PlayStation came with a demo of Tekken, and it had the same movements that I had like learned when I was growing up. So I started doing like amateur competitive Tekken matches all the way up into college.
It's cool.
In doing that, I learned like frame data and different things too. So it's
actually smart. I used to do like
how my body
Pokemon
moves, understanding the mechanics of making
events
a punch,
at Toys R
being
Us
able
when
to
I was
read
younger.
That mechanic in the actual games, like how
Nothing, no kung fu or anything, but
frame data and the speed that it
did that.
That allowed me to take all that knowledge and translate it into, these are how we're going to make these characters readable. This is how we're going to make this style feel good. And then there's this meta style to it as well. Of like, okay, well, this is for a person who wants to be a rushdown character or a zoner. This is for the people that like grappling. And you just kind of have your expression. And then as you play your friends, you kind of know their behavior, and you're like, okay, he knows that I'm going to do this, and I know that he's going to do this. So that's how I counter it. So a little bit of that.
You talked a little bit about it being kind of a dialogue and kind of learning how somebody fought. Like, I'm interested to know, what is your approach? Like, let's just say it's a clean slate. This character's never been done before. What is your approach to coming up with this initial combat design for characters?
Yeah, you really want to come up with like, what's the core fantasy of this character? What is his background? What is their background? Why are they trying to express themselves through violence, right? Like, how are they going to communicate? So somebody who might grow up in an adversarial environment, they might feel more aggressive, or like, you have to beat people to the punch. Like the world is so chaotic around me that I have to be more aggressive to get stability. So the first thing I just try to do is like, what is the character's fantasy, and then build that kind of backstory that fits with them. And then I look at gameplay moments that are going to support that. Like I just mentioned, if the person has to be hyper aggressive, then I'm like, okay, maybe their stance is always going to be slightly forward. They're going to be a more aggressive.
I'm holding your hair clip. That's on me.
Moves.
It's on me. I gotta put it down.
Either armored or armored, meaning like they absorb a hit while they're giving a hit. Or if I'm going to make somebody who grew up a little bit more naive or more playful, maybe they're going to be more standoffish back, or like they kind of think that even in the heat of battle, it's like a game, or like it's silly to them. It's like fun. They're going to be more like fluid in sort of their movements and playful in their actions. So you can have like two different fantasies that have these many different play styles that can even go with it. So
yeah. And another thing too is that you spoke about dialogue. How does combat design relate to other elements of the game, such as narrative?
I often think that like in a fight, you're going to have this natural back and forth of like taking turns. Basically, you're saying things and they're responding to it, right? So there's already this like action and response that comes from just the moveset alone. But you could tell a dialogue through, or a story really, through the environment. How did it change over time? And you don't always have to show damage on a actual character. You can show how things are breaking in the environment. You can show how this person's getting a little bit more desperate during the fight. How there is a reversal or double down. Basically, like you think they're winning, and then they do something, and now you're losing. You're on the back foot. So that's just the choreography of the fight, how it can turn into dialogue. But there's also like maybe they learned a new ability, maybe something that's unlocked from them, from a core memory. How does that fit into the story? How does this new unlockable mechanic fits thematically to where the character's goals are, and how does their opponent stand in the way of that goal. It's not always good versus evil. It might be my goals versus your goals. You want to, you know, make the world feel all the pain that you felt, or you want to stop the world from feeling pain ever again, and that just puts us at conflict, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fair question. I have another question for you. Are there any types of styles of combat you've really yet to see in a game? And how would you kind of approach that? First of all, what are they? And then also, like, how would you kind of approach that and want to like bring that into a game?
Oh, well, you know, yeah. I feel like I've seen a lot of different martial arts, a lot of different styles in games, and I kind of specialize more so in melee combat. You know, there's a lot of different ways to approach combat with like magical abilities or gunplay and different things. So I don't know if I can really speak to a style I haven't seen at all, because like even like capoeira, we're starting to see a bigger resurgence in that, but we haven't seen a whole lot of like African martial arts. I don't think there's like as popular or as documented in the world of like these different styles of African martial arts. And if I could speak to how to do it, I don't think I would give that away right away. I think that would be something. I think that would be like, hey, I'm gonna do this game that has some African styles. But one might go with this approach where we're thought of life had started in Africa. What if the original African martial art is what it brings in all these other different styles? Like basically the style that you know, whether it be Muay Thai, Taekwondo, or Taido or something like that, evolved from that style, that original martial arts style and that expressive style. So, you know, how could you make this a like interesting origin style that like encompasses the different things? So it's like, oh, you thought you knew this, but like I invented it and I actually didn't share with you all the pieces. You just have like a fragment of everything I know.
Yeah. Just like you didn't share all the ideas that you have right now with us. I get it. All right.
that's a freebie. Like you can try to do that. Go ahead and try. The other idea.
Yeah.
Talk after the call. You know.
I got you.
So I kind of wanted to go back to when you were talking about your like taking martial arts and whatnot. What was your favorite like martial arts, I guess, inspired piece of media, like as in like a film or a video game that like really inspired, you know, you as a combat designer?
Oh yeah, there's several. I mean, even to this day, like I love John Wick movies. I love all these other new action films that are coming out. The earliest ones for me would have to be like Kid with the Golden Arms or Five Deadly Venoms.
Yes.
Five Deadly Venoms is sort of like your Avengers before they were Avengers, right? Like we have these 5 different styles that had these like tropes and things with them, but you start to get the super abilities, the centipede really fast, the snake agile, the toad invulnerable, right? And how do they play together? So that was influential about like how do you come up with different techniques that speak to the theme of the character you're making, and then how can they be opposed to each other even if they've like learned from the same school. But the other one that was super influential to me, and I feel like it spawned like Dragon Ball Z in a way, is got to be The Last Dragon, right? Like it's a cult classic. Maybe it's not the absolute best movie on the planet,
no,
right?
But it's still good.
There's so many things about the character progression. Like you're already a master, but it's inside, or you know, you need to break through these own limitations that you have. And the glow is totally going Super Saiyan, and that's like a designer signature that I put in a lot of characters that I worked on. If you know, you know, like a lot of the things that I worked on, they eventually get the glow or go Super Saiyan, right? So those are a couple. I mean, there's so many more. The Raid for me, On Bak. I train Muay Thai to this day because of On Bak and things like that. So yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, the raid is intense. It's anxiety. It's sad.
Yeah.
So good. Speaking of just the titles you worked on, you've worked extensively in a lot of different games. Would you mind telling an audience a little bit more about some of those games that you've had the luxury of working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started making games I've been making games for over 10 years now, a bunch of little indie games, Mech Knight Chronicles to working on Project Spark to Fat Princess Adventures. But I think my big break was actually working on God of War 2018. I joined the team at a part of the projects where I had a lot of influence over the encounters, and they really liked what I did, so they brought me back to be working on the grunts, or like more basic units. So first I worked on how, with this new camera, how we're going to have these fights be readable and digestible and feel good. And then I worked on how do we make these creatures fit into this world a little better, and mini bosses and bosses. So I worked on Ragnarok and then the DLC Valhalla, where I combined both my encounters knowledge and my character creature making knowledge. And then I wanted to take all the things that I learned by hanging out with Kratos and some of the fantastic people at Sony Santa Monica to work on Black Panther. And that's where we got to hang out a little bit. And I learned so much on that team. But sadly, you know, we can't really talk about it or show it or do anything about that. So now I'm just
There's
helping
drama.
Other studios with their projects, some big projects that are unannounced. So I won't be able to talk about them too much, but it's similar to the things that I've learned along the way so far.
Do you have any favorite combat moments among the games you've contributed to?
Oh yeah, there's so many. Let me try to pick one. This is a huge moment for me on God of War 2018. I'm responsible for a lot of deaths in the basically Draugr pit. So that's where the bridge breaks and Atreus falls down, and then Kratos jumps in to jump down. And there are 3 heavy Draugrs that spawn in that fight, and that massacre a lot of people. So in playtest data, we see a heavy drop off of like people struggling with that part. But once you get past that, you're prepared for the rest of the game. Like once you're able to overcome that challenge, you have all the tools that you need to beat the game. So even though it is a frustrating moment for a lot of people,
it is.
I think it did help a lot of people get into to play the actual game instead of relying on like first tier tactics, like early tactics. The other moment on 2018 that I really enjoy is actually right in front of the stonemason fight. There's 3 different superpower Draugrs that come out, and you think that this is kind of the fight. These 3 units on their own can make an interesting encounter.
Struggling over here.
But actually, we bring back an old trope from the previous God of War games where we spawn a large creature. It used to be a Cyclops. For us, it was an ogre. And then we spawn another ogre. So right when you think like you fought this one challenging fight to like now there's an ogre, and then there's like 2 ogres. How am I ever going to do this? But it's set up in such a way that the pacing of the encounter empowers you to get over it. So you're at first you feel the threat of it, but as you overcome that fight, you're like, oh yeah, I am awesome. I am the God of War. I totally like can handle all these things. So those 2 moments, like frustrating moment that turns into like now you have the skills to beat the game. And then I was scared, but it's actually a totally doable fight.
How do you balance that? Because as you know, we've worked on projects together, and sometimes fine-tuning and balancing encounters and combat can prove to be a challenge in and of itself. So kind of what's your approach to just making sure
everything's a challenge. Life's challenging.
Yeah. So my approach to like making things feel good is first just like I always tune or start fighting an encounter with the most basic things. Like I always just use basic attacks, and if I'm making a creature or a boss or an encounter, I should be able to defeat it with just pressing the simple attack button, blocking and dodging, and take 0 damage. That lets me know that the animations are readable, the pacing is correct. Maybe there's if I do get hit, then like okay, I need to like time out, or I need to put a piece of health or something that you can like recharge yourself into the fight. And then the other parts is just like thinking about the fairness and the fatigue that you might have after seeing X amount of units, X amount of heavy fights, X amount of times where you needed to parry or in one particular encounter, and how much time that encounter is going to be. So if you're fighting a boss, maybe that's 4 minutes, and I'm like, all right, well, I need to balance. I have to play this with my very basic defending, punching, and not get hit for 4 minutes straight. That could be really taxing for somebody. So
it is.
How do I make the character interesting enough in those 4 minutes that somebody's not overstimulated or fatigued by doing all the actions that they have to do?
Give them an easy mode.
I'd love to go into more detail about it, but like that's kind of where I start.
No, I appreciate that. No, good.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think something that I'm really curious about too, like when you're doing the balancing, like what is your, I guess, the priority you think about in terms of combat? Because I always think about, like, when I'm playing a game, do you think more about like the offensive, I guess, or like more of like the defensive or like magical parts, or like I don't know if that makes sense, but like what do you try and prioritize, I guess, when you are starting, like when you're planning that out for combat?
You cry.
Yeah,
You grab your little
we
notebook.
were saying dialogue before, but it's really about the dance. Like, even if you go back to those movies that I was talking about, they're not really fighting. They're kind of like doing this sequence of dance moves, you know. So they're your dance partner. So how do you make this person interesting? It's not just about defense. If the player's just defending, then that doesn't feel really good. I'm just kind of waiting for my turn, and then I parry, and then I just beat them up, or something, right? So, what other action verbs can we get? I need to dodge out of the way. Sometimes I need to parry. Is this my opportunity to take my turn back? Can I do this risky thing sometimes? If I do the risky thing sometimes and I win, great. But sometimes I do the risky thing and I get punished. And I was like, I shouldn't have been able to do that. And that needs to be clear. So my priorities start off with, how do we make this dance interesting? Both the player and the combatant have verbs where they can go back and forth with each other. How do I make it readable is the second part. Now that we have those verbs, you need to defend at this time. I need to signal to you that this is the move that you need to get out of the way of. And then this is the move that you need to block, or this is the move that you need to interrupt, right? And then the third part is like, well, how much damage, or like how many tries do you get at those attempts? If the player is getting hit once and the game is over, that can be really stressful. But maybe some attacks are more punishing than others. So now that's that signature kind of, and sometimes we call it like the signature kill move, where it's like, I need to watch out for that because it's just going to level me, you know? So, and then you just want to make that like a part of that core kit, that was the one interesting thing that I had to remember. And maybe I have a signature move too that I want to land. I need to be able to cleave him, but which way is he going to dodge? Is he going to left or right? And I feel really good when I pick the right correction, the right side.
Steven, it is always a pleasure to kind of hear you dive into the nitty gritty of combat design. I've heard it several times, and every single time I feel like I leave learning something new. So thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on my LinkedIn, Steven Oil with GBA. And yeah, I'm happy to help you craft battles that everybody can win. And it's always great meeting you guys. Thanks for having me.
I'm back again to remind you of the XP Fund, because your
Love that.
contributions can help get the next great indie game off the ground.
I like this showcase because this one, the segments of like the podcast style to talk.
Granny used to tell me all manner of stories about rolling calf and how I'm used to start the countryside. But River Mama and the golden table share take time guard out by Flatbridge. About the 3-foot horse and him not afraid of moonlight.
Like this.
About Old Hig who are gallivant all night without skin. About Crocodile Man and how you know for answer me if him not 3 times. She even tell me about the La Diablesse with her 1 cow hoof and white brim hats.
Whoa, I just noticed her leg.
Teeth out one of the man righteous chicken then. Hey, those were good times, you know. Good times.
I've been waiting to take a deep dive into the abyss, but I missed my chance to advance and enhance considerably makeshift. Several heroes held red scar tissue abrasive. A menacing, tending tenants, fencing, hence the location. Given that I've been living different morals, plural grievances, and legion, relieving numerals to the oracle. Sometimes it sounds horrible.
Biting dog, I like it.
My behavior to the Selamoon consumed dendrites. Not ever living aneurysm combusted. Another term turns families into nothing. For greater good, I get understood. I gotta remain afloat. No lane left stain. Is it insane how I name my quotes? I speak into existence. A brief relief condition. Couldn't occupy the sky without permission. As long as the spell cast, my nature into value have you driven. Live in nexus. Authority to the normally, formerly known. Shown everything. Except for the weapons kept swept under anything. You get it?
Cute. I like this. Okay. Oh, he's got little shoes on.
My name's Xavier B. Johnson, and this is Diesel Knights.
Hi, I'm Indigo Doyle, Creative Director at Pushing Vertices, located in Toronto, Canada, where we're making Roller Girl, a slice of life adventure about Naomi, a 16-year-old girl in the 2000s, vibing with her rollerblades and her MP3 player. This game is a love letter to my childhood, rollerblading through the quiet streets of my hometown with my own personal soundtrack loaded up. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I love rollerblading and music. And that's why we spent a long time perfecting the movement in the game to make it feel smooth and purposeful. And when it comes to music, I always have a soundtrack for how I'm feeling. In Roller Girl, the music is linked to the mood of the game. Changing the playlist changes your perception of the world, from happy to sad. The mood influences other characters' responses to you and your dialogue options. Key story moments also impact the mood. We are curating a soundtrack inspired by 2000s pop punk by connecting with local indie bands. So far, we're featuring artists Narima,
nice,
and King Fabs. There's something about the way it feels to effortlessly glide down a smooth street. Your favorite music playing in your earbuds, and for a moment, it's like time stops, and you're just in a flow state. That's what Roller Girl represents. Your wheels on, your music up, and the freedom to move. The freedom to explore and learn about yourself as you go. You start the game having just gotten your first car, which breaks down immediately.
Sounds
Desperate
about right.
for cash to fix it, you lace up your rollerblades and grab your MP3 player. You do odd jobs around town, stumble into a romance, and uncover a juicy town mystery. I don't know about you, but I used to spend a lot of time in my head. Back in the day, I would rollerblade around my hometown, inventing backstories for my neighbors. There's a certain charm to small towns, and I can't wait for you to poke around and find the little stories I've hidden behind fences and around corners. Thanks for taking this tour with me, and thank you to the Black
Makes me want to see if I can skate in the
I can't wait
pool.
to see you find your vibe in Roller Girl.
Life's like a playlist, you know? Okay. I like this. Cute.
We are back with Black Voice in Game. You see how that we just like push right into it. I am here with Lizette and Marcus Montgomery, Cornerstone Studios, and they are working on your first game as a studio, which is Carrier Cuties. It has like a really interesting premise to it for sure. But I want to know how you guys started Cornerstone Studios, because it's like you guys are like super vets. Even I'm like, just the stuff that you guys have done, it puts me in awe. So could you guys talk about how you started the studio and a little bit about your backgrounds?
Yeah, we're not new to this. We've been doing this for almost 3 decades. Some of us have been doing it for 3 decades. So we've worked in console, AAA, small studios, and we were kind of at a point in our careers where we were trying to figure out what was next. We've worked with the biggest titles and the biggest IPs in the world, so we thought the next step for us was making our own IP and starting our own studio.
That's super awesome. and kind of what led you to, you guys know I'm a big fighting game fan. It's like my favorite genre. I play every fighting game. How did you kind of come up with this style of game and kind of want to make a fighting game for your first title?
A lot of this comes back inherently. I'm come from that arcade area.
Yep.
That arcade era where fighting games was really prevalent. I like that twitch, fast responsive sort of gameplay. It's a lot of the games I've worked on prior have had that. And so this is kind of just falls into that pocket. To really get into what inspired this, I think, Lisette, maybe we should talk about our grandson a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got a grandson, he's 6. And we, one of the things we love to do is like break out old consoles and old games and just have fun with him and relive the nostalgia of, us playing as a child with our grandson. And one day we broke out the Dreamcast and put in Power Stone, and we were just having a blast. Particularly my grandson Mars, was having an amazing time. And we were like, what happened to this game and why hasn't it come back? And everyone we talk to has like such affinity for it. They're like, oh, I remember that game. Yeah. And they get this like the total like twinkly eye look to it. And I'm like, so what happened? And I was like, well, maybe if we bring this back with like a fresh IP and make it like, update the mechanics and, bring it into an area where co-play and like team-based mechanics are sort of like pushed a little bit further. And so, that's how kind of got the ball rolling. It was just a fun playtime with our grandson.
That's amazing. And you have
Wait, so what game is it?
You have a collection of like a vast collection of games?
Been collecting games for a very, very long time. We've, between the different eras, we even go back to the Atari, but, the Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, Saturn games.
Saturn? That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. My first job in the industry was at Sega. And so,
really?
Yes. So I have a huge affinity for Sega and their, the litany of games that they have. But we've been collecting and carrying a bunch of different digital and physical media for a while. So our collection is pretty big.
So,
that's awesome.
It also doesn't help that you have like an encyclopedic knowledge of game design. So that also
really
helps.
I may need to hit you up about that. Not for my own, resources and whatnot. No, that's really cool. So if you're looking at your library of games and your grandson, was a little bit frustrated at some of the games that he's playing, what made you like decide to pick this one? Like from, you know what I mean? You're just like, do you remember this particular Power Stone? And you're just like,
with kids, you expose them to a lot of different things. You never know what's going to stick. And, so we're always, since he comes over and plays with us, there's certain things he likes and certain things, he wants to play just because he's familiar with them. But we also want to expose him to new things. And, the Dreamcast is one of those things. And Power Stone is one of the many things that we, tried. But that was one of the first things that he really attached. And he would ask about it. And it was, a lot of it also is because I have the old arcade stick as well. So
you had the arcade stick?
Yeah. And he saw the stick and he was like, what's that? And I was like, come, son, let me show you
that must
what this is about. Yeah,
fantastic
to
expose.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
And we really love the fact that we found something we could connect with him, and we find that to be a very
really
unique
hard to
experience.
do.
We want to make sure that how can we replicate that not just for us but for other people as well. There's a lot of nostalgia around these sort of games, and people of our age may want to be able to share it with the kids that they have, and we think that we have a unique way to kind of bridge that intergenerational play.
That's cool. So rolling into this, Lisette, like how did you come up with this particular game? And then can you talk about the premise of it, because it's extremely interesting.
I think all good games that kind of hit the zeitgeist often reflect like the conversation we're currently having, and the conversation we're all currently having is AI. So
like a 90s rap song.
So I was like, let's and there's assumptions that we all come to, which is like, we're all going to eventually be killed by robots. So let's just play out to the worst scenario what that may look like and make it absurd and stupid. So I started thinking about what a post-AI world looked like, and I'm like, well, our pets are still here, so of course they'd be the ones who take over the world.
What game would their IP be?
And then you start doing these really silly, like, world and logic exercises, and then you end up with some really wild story, and that's kind of how we ended up here. Karaoke Cuties takes place in the future.
Okay, Karaoke Cuties.
And eventually
That's a name?
are extinct. And our pets essentially become sentient and take over the world we've left behind. And they build battle bots in the shape of their former owners to battle out their primitive instincts. And that's sort of the premise behind this.
So they die. So their owners straight up are gone. And then they're just like remembering their humans.
Yes.
Did the pets didn't kill them? AI killed them.
Yeah, AI killed them.
Because I'm like, this is so sad.
AI killed them.
Like AI killed them.
Yeah.
AI's gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah. So let's jump into it. We're gonna play, and then I think it would be really interesting to just kind of go over the character design, the pet design, and then kind of your approach to art, you know, and that kind of thing. So I'm gonna try to play and talk at the same time.
I will give you some tips as we're playing.
Okay.
You know, just press X and Y a lot, and you'll be fine.
Okay, so what's the character?
So
this particular character.
This is essentially our boxer and our boxer. So essentially, the boxer pet is piling his humek, as we call it.
Humek.
And
That's
essentially,
dope.
they appear as humans at first, and as you sort of unlock super modes, their robot abilities reveal themselves to you.
That's cool. So you had you guys have pets, dogs?
Yes, we do.
Because the Scoop. That's notorious. That's when you're like, when you're like, what the hell are you
It's
doing?
time for a bath.
Yeah, it's you gotta handle that. You gotta handle that in pleasant ways. But you know, we really want to pull in the humor as much as we can of the characters that we have. You know, and you know, while this is still early, we want to be able to represent the humor and the character and the humanity of it all. So very much like the classic Power Stone game, you've got dive kicks. You can pick up and push different objects in the world. You can pick up tables, throw them at your opponent. Ooh. There's hazards in the world as well.
Throw your opponent into the stove. If you hit them against that wall, you'll also see the barrels knocked out on them. So you can also use the world to your advantage.
Should I have like homing gloves?
Yeah, the rocket fists.
So how did I get this power up right here?
So there's power cells, like you just, as you finish, much like the classic game, there's power cells that will
Sorry, I'm trying to
spawn
process the
across
game.
map. If you're able to pick up 3,
It's creative.
you're able to then transform into what would be eventually your pet mech. That's not represented in this prototype build, but that is something that we will have in the future.
Wait, what does that mean? What do you mean?
So currently, when you get your 3 power stones, you stay in your boxer form, but we are debuting a new character with the new build where you're actually going to switch to your pet mech form.
Really?
So you're going to have more pet-like abilities once you get your super move.
Oh, I got deaded.
You can see the pet mech in our current trailer.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, that's awesome. Which we will debut, or we already have debuted. I mean, you guys debuted it, so
you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
People who were on site at the mix were able to see the actual maquette that I built for it.
Oh, that was cool. So talk a little bit about like the kind of practical creation of the characters.
Yeah, so one of the things when we were talking about what we wanted to do with the studio, I also wanted to change my process of how I created characters and assets, and try to take advantage of, you know, all this new technology we have with photogrammetry. So, and my natural ability to sculpt with physical material and clay. So I'm building all the characters in physical clay, scanning them in using photogrammetry,
sick. Okay.
topologizing them, and then animating them for combat. And you can also see, like, you know, the visual effects. So we're taking advantage of, you know, the style and uniqueness that we get from physical materials, and then also, you know, taking advantage of all of the wonderful things that Unreal 5 affords us to kind of push the dynamics and the style and the interactivity of the characters in the world. So it's been, you know, it's a nice mix for me where I get to get physical and use my hands, and then I can get digital and take advantage of, you know, the advantages that come with that.
So how does this differ from when you were at Double Fine? I mean, you've been, like you said, close to 3 decades. How does this differ? I mean, because you wanted to get it more hands-on, but when you were at previous studios, how did you develop art there? Because you were directed and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I started as a character modeler for 12 years. I worked my way up until I became like a lead and an art director. So most of my process has always been digital. Maybe at the beginning when we're kind of dealing with sketching and doing brainstorms and loose sketches of a character, you get paper and you could get hands-on with some oil and paint. But once it gets into the 3D phase, often you're in a digital space. And so for me, I really wanted to take advantage of designing things physically first so that the toys feel great in your hands. Often I've worked in games where we create characters and we don't really see them in 3D physical form until we've made a toy, and by then the design is kind of sealed. So I wanted to nail that down early and making sure it's something like a kid wants to pick up and play with.
So you're thinking of like just in general the 360 aspect of how the game will feel, not only as a game, but also if kids want to play it, and then probably animation and like just different mediums. Is that? I guess I'm making assumptions right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like the toy element.
Okay,
right? I've worked on games where we, designed the characters and mostly digitally, and then when we get to the merch element, the designs fall flat. And there's just a huge amount of opportunity and affinity that people have for their characters, and we want to make sure that the toys and the merch will also reflect that.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about the Waffle House, because that's a very iconic cultural
I like that.
situation.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? What other you know what I mean? Like what other kind of cultural references as far as environments are you guys gonna have? Because no one's really doing that.
They're gonna be like super creative about this for sure.
When you think about this world that we've built, we've very much thought about how would these pets think, and if they're emulating their former masters, they would fight in the same areas that their former masters fight. So, Waffle House, Black Friday.
Black Friday at the Wolf Mart or something like that.
Exactly.
The county fair.
The county fair. The swap meet. This is going super like, you know what I mean?
Coachella. All these different things, right?
Coachella.
Outside the porta potties, all these, like, where do people fight? Little League games.
Little League games.
So, but the thing is, this is kind of an extraction.
Warner.
Exactly. It's an extraction of where would people fight.
Well, essentially, if AI engulfed all of World Star, where would it tell you to fight?
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. I want to see I know you don't have it in here, but the bystanders for people who don't have the dope mechs.
We are actually. One of the things my grandson keeps asking for is he wants us to throw people through the window and then have the people on the other side of the window throw them back in.
That is so
I'm
good.
Like, well, that's Ultimate Waffle House, so that's
Ultimate
definitely
Waffle.
going.
I'm getting destroyed.
Yeah. So we're looking into a lot of this is there's so much to be explored, right? And there's so many callbacks and references that we want to pull into the game itself, and we can build into this that we are really excited to kind of chase down.
What other animals are going to be debuted in the game?
Yeah, we've actually done some really great explorations on our character lineup, kind of exploring different fighter styles with just like an amazing concept artist named Connie Kang. She, one of her books is called Metamorphia, and she kind of focuses on this really great translation of animals into human. And so we wanted to kind of play on what would a house pet look like, and the likeness between a pet and their owner. And so we're kind of playing around with birds.
Oh, nice.
Anything you consider a house pet. Turtles, cats, of course, you gotta have a cat and a dog. Rats, even, we're even looking into
rats.
Get a rat or a gerbil, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, your typical house pet.
That's super cool. So what are you like? How far are you into? I know you guys are pretty early on. How far are you into development, and kind of where are you gonna go from here?
This is probably 5%, if that. Right, we are at the beginning of our journey.
Ooh.
And one
So
of the
this
things
is
that's
not
really great about
coming
this is
out
that,
anytime soon.
this is just even the start of our visual look, right? And there's still a lot of look development to go on. There's still a lot of mechanics to integrate. There's a lot of different things that I want to try and get into the game. I want to try and push this so that the game is very approachable for intergenerational play, so you can play with your kids. But I very much think of this as like play with your kids, put your kids to bed, play with your friends, right? And when you're playing with your friends, you want a little bit more depth. And I want to put a lot more emergent or discoverable mechanics that can be in here to kind of push the play space a bit. You know, you have games like Power Stone where whenever you get knocked down, you only lose one power cell. I'm thinking, what if we added a little bit more skill into it, where if you throw an object and it's kind of not targeted or automatically thrown at the person, but you're leading the person and you hit them at a particular distance, you might drop 2 power cells as opposed to 1, right? Trying to find ways to add a little bit more nuanced play so that you can discover new tactics to outplay your opponents.
That's interesting. Like, I remember, I'm a big fan of Power Stone 2. Power Stone 2 felt less of a fighter because the worlds were everything was moving and that kind of thing. But it'd be interesting to see what you guys do with the environments, even extending and that kind of thing. So that's awesome.
One of the best things I think about Power Stone 1 or that sort of thing is we want to make sure that the game is focused on defeating the other team and working together with your partner to make that happen, right? The arena itself is a character, and we want to make sure that the arena kind of shines as well. Being able to kind of expand the play space, think of like being able to knock people through walls, as we talked about earlier, through the window, and then be able to fight in a parking lot, right? So there's a lot of places to take this game and to explore different mechanics and different events.
Yeah, we really want to make sure the environment feels dynamic and that you can throw a character in front of a moving subway train, for example, to time a hazard. So we're kind of really looking at making the arena a character all its own, and that it adds a level of randomness that makes every match fun.
Yeah, and the pets aren't going to get hurt.
Of course, that's why they're in the box.
Okay,
that's not your pet.
Yeah, because I was about to say, you throwing it in front of a subway, you can't.
No. You can't. You can pet the pet mechs, but they're bots.
Okay. Yeah. So where can we find out more about Carrier Cuties Cornerstone?
You can find our Steam page, Carrier Cuties Pets and Mechs, but we also have a site that you can go to. It's really easy. Seastone Int Studio. Start page, and you'll be able to look out, find more about our Discord, and be able to join, be able to wish list, and even see more updates that are coming.
And you could follow us on socials at Seastone Studio.
Seastone Int Studio.
Seastone Int. I was like, you hear me? I hesitated. Seastone.
Seastone Int Studio, and that's on all platforms.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming through and allowing us to play your game. And congrats on everything. I mean, jumping in feet first to make a game in a studio is not easy.
Thank you for having us.
It is not for the weak.
No, not at all. All right. On to the next segment, too. This was awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cute. Oh, heck yes. What? Jay and Silent Bob, Chronic Blunt Punches? Okay. You know what we gonna be playing? Ooh, scary. like takes you a split second to figure out which game you're watching, but they're all very detailedly different. So
Sweet.
Excited for all of them, but like, what was your favorite?
I think my standout would have to be Jay and Silent Bob. I mean, I'm a longtime Jay and Silent Bob fan, so just that nostalgia alone was enough to get me pumped up and excited for sure.
Valid.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to give a big shout out to all of our devs today, Jesse, Stevo, and the entire Cornerstone team. Be sure to put a lot of those games, most of those games, on your wish list while you can, and we are going to toss it over back to Justin.
Thank you, Curtis and Lori, for hosting the show. Great to see you guys, and loved those interviews. Love the devs and all the so good. Thank you all for tuning in, and the developers who are participating in these showcases and in this one in particular. Make sure to follow the developers on their socials, wishlist, buy, and play their demos. If you are interested in helping to fund some of those projects that you saw on the show, you could donate to the XP Fund through the QR code on the screen and connect with us if you're interested in additional investment opportunities. We have to give it up to our partners, no rivals, Aurora Broadcasting for being on the ones and twos, Raw Fury for helping to make this thing possible, and our broadcasting partners, Summer Game Fest. Thanks for including us again, Twitch, IGN, GameSpot, and Steam. Make sure to catch all of the other awesome showcases happening this week. There's so many of them.
So many.
The Latin America Game Showcase, Women-Led Games, Southeast Asia Game Showcase, Frosty Games Fest, Wholesome Direct, Story Rich, Planet Play, India Game Showcase, Day of the Devs, and more. My head's about to pop.
Literally like
Again,
17 showcases
Justin Woodward,
all
co-founder of
week
Black Voice
long.
Gaming and the Experience Studios platform. See you guys soon, and peace.
Love this. This was so good. So good. Okay, I'm gonna put it back here so I can have my little music that I was having. Okay, how were we feeling about it? It was good, right? Right? Maybe? Okay, so we are going to close out the stream here. I've got work. I gotta stay up all night and do some fun stuff. But tomorrow, what is it? June 4th, 4 p.m. is the first live stream of the showcase. So we need an hour and a half. So I'm saying we come back about like 2 and we stream 2, finish State of Play. Then we get into 4, doing the Latin games. And then at 6, we'll do women's led gaming and then cap it at that for that stream. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for watching my reactions to these. I really love indie games. And that doesn't deteriorate you from playing Call of Duty. You could still play Call of Duty. Yeah, thanks for hanging out and spending time with me. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.